Spring training is officially over. Real MLB games start this week. The roster is taking shape. We'll look at how things are shaking out, how the pieces of the Guardians roster will fit to start the 2026 season.
Tanner Bobby of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Guardians fans? I'm Justin Lada, and alongside me is my co-host and friend, Jeff Ellis, two of your hosts here for Locked On Guardians, as well as friends and writers that have been covering the Guardians system for nearly 2 decades. Locked On Guardians is the only daily Cleveland Guardians podcast covering your team every day from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. This episode of Locked On Guardians brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBThe.show/LockedOn. Use code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Available now on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and rated E for everyone. All right, Jeff, we got a lot to cover today. As spring training has finally wrapped up, the Guardians have 2 exhibition games in Arizona still, but at the Diamondbacks' actual stadium, so they're out of Cactus League play and out of the 105-degree heat that was coming around all of Phoenix and Goodyear and the greater area there. So I'm sure they're happy to be playing under a roof with some air conditioning for a change. We'll discuss how the bullpen is taking shape to start the season, how the battle for the 5th start, the rotation became real and the impacts of that. Most importantly, leading off, how the outfield situation is shaking out with Nolan Jones out of the picture and how the lineup will be managed day to day. I was a little surprised, to be honest with you, about hearing about Jones being outrighted off the roster, but it's the right call. Like I again, no disrespect to Nolan Jones as a person. I think he knew he was struggling, and he had even said as much that he was maybe a little surprised he was brought back. But I don't know. He was a $2 million insurance policy or a gamble, I guess, to see if they could get him back to. Again, nobody's going to believe he's going to be what he was in 2023, but to get him something in return and get back to where he was. And results aside, you can just tell it was not working out this spring. Like the swing decisions were bad. He was chasing, just did not look like the guy we had seen as a prospect or anything close to the guy who had that breakout in 2023 season, no matter how unlikely it was to repeat.
Yeah, it's like watching him perform. I was thinking about this today, and it reminded me a lot of Andres Jimenez, both in terms of, that one big year, and then they both had unsustainably high BABIPs and then never approaching it again. But also in terms of, good physical tools, good physical traits. I mean, I think Jones wasn't even the hitter he was a year ago. McKee at points got himself up to approaching average. And what we saw at points with Jimenez in the past, and we saw, I think, with Jones at camp, is like sometimes getting too into their own head. And we had read reports about that in the even last year with Jones, right? That he was thinking too much, not swinging enough at the start of last year. So I think for Jones, there was never a doubt he was going to accept the $2 million. This is a guy who, his signing bonus wasn't $2 million. He never made $1 million, I believe, so far. I mean, he's made a few hundred thousands. He made over $1 million, but he has never made anywhere approaching that money. So it gives them a good insurance policy. They can send him down to a low stress environment. They can maybe continue to work with him. We've seen some guys have some bounce backs down there. Not saying that you're going to count on him or you expect anything out of him, but it gives you insurance because you do have a lot of injury plagued players, and there's worse things than having more depth, right? Like that's a situation. They didn't have up and down the minor league system center field depth, and it's a really hard position in general to fill in baseball. We talked about that last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, that it had the lowest average production by WRC was center field. It was not shortstop, it wasn't catcher, it was center field last year. Across baseball, it's just kind of a dead spot in baseball right now. So him passing through waivers, I mean, at this point, I think you and I were both like, it felt like he was going to not make this team because he looked lost. He just looked 100% lost to the plate. He has not performed well. And while I don't put a ton of weight into spring training production, neither good nor bad, I do, when I'm watching it, I just want to see a player showing positive traits and signs. And he looked like a guy who was caught in between. He didn't want to be too passive. He didn't want to be too aggressive. He stopped being himself. And more than anything else, I think that's what hurt him, is he was trying to be aggressive, and then he started expanding way too much. And, I think he's got to change his swing completely. Like, I think he's a guy who needs to shorten that swing, figure something out, and really go about some massive changes if he has hope for the future. But again, depth is a good thing. It'll be interesting to see what they run with now, because they don't have a ton of center field options on this team still.
They don't, no. I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, kudos for them to pay money and just eat the contract. I mean, they kind of are. It's only $2 million. I'm not going to say, oh, that's a great call. But I mean, I guess there's situations in the past where they might have said, well, he's making $2 million, so we're going to play him because he's making the money, right? That's things they've done in the past, but they didn't hear. I mean, the Miles Straw thing, they went through that. So they've shown a willingness to not be bound by committed dollars, which is a good thing for them, frankly. Not surprised. But yeah, you're right. He got totally out of sorts. Like, I mean, I've never seen him chase this much, 30% chase rate. 30th percentile this spring. Like, that's a lot for him. Still hit the ball hard when he hit it, but was still just taking terrible swings, and it just was not working out. And he spent the all offseason overhauling his swing, and maybe he needs more time to figure that out. So maybe that's what he'll do in AAA. Like you said, it'll be a low stress environment. But yeah, so how the outfield's going to shake out. This is how I kind of see it, because the outfield's still not determined, right? Like, it sounds like CJ Kayfus is going to be the guy who makes the roster out of spring training. We thought it could have been him or Stuart Fairchild, but it sounds like it's going to be Kayfus, which makes things even weirder for how the outfield is going to shake out. So you essentially have, Valera's not going to be on the roster because he's hurt. So your only option in the outfield that's essentially going to be able to hit right-handed is Angel Martinez, being a switch hitter, who had another great spring training. I mean, he is the MVP of Goodyear every year. He crushed another home run today off of Nick Lodolo. So, he's still trying to prove that he is at least the platoon answer in the outfield from the right side. And I guess it doesn't sound like David Fry is going to play much outfield, but I guess that's an option. So, the way I see it shaking out.
I think Schneeman is kind of the other guy to look at. He's played all three spots in the past. I think he's probably your next guy up type situation.
Yes. I'm just saying in terms of from
yeah,
the right side. For the right side, they don't have anything. So here's how I see the shaking out. Tell me where you think you differ, Jeff, or where I'm wrong. So the way I sketched it out, because I know they want to keep DH open for DeLauter to keep him off his feet, and also, let Jose DH once a week that they have been. So maybe against right-handers, DeLauter DHs, and that allows you to put Kayfus in the outfield while getting DeLauter off his feet. You put Schneeman or Kwan in center or left on those days, right? So you have all left-handed hitting outfield. Maybe you'll play Martinez on certain days, but against lefties, you DH DeLauter, maybe Hoskins or Manzardo split first base on those days. However that works out, you put Kayfus in the outfield. And against lefties, maybe Manzardo DHs, so Hoskins plays first. I'm not saying Hoskins isn't going to play against righties. I'm just saying maybe that's just how the majority shakes out. Martinez in left, Kwan in center, and then DeLauter plays right against lefties to keep him in the outfield a little bit, and that way you can keep the DH spot open those days. Like what do you think about that?
I mean, I think DeLauter just isn't going to play versus lefties. I think he's going to have days off and on those days. I think he's probably going to play in the outfield versus righties, and then I feel like you're going to see a very strict DeLauter Martinez platoon, and then Kwan will play every day. And then they might just let Kayfus play, basically left is going to be Kayfus, and when it's not Kayfus, then they can. But I also think Hoskins is going to play every day, and I think Manzardo is going to play every day. So I think, it's a situation right now where they don't really have a great option and we'll see too how they decide to handle players in situations. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be, on hell and left every day, and when I don't know how they'd exactly handle it versus in that situation where Chase isn't going to play, I think, as much versus lefty. So it'll be interesting to see. But it's kind of a massive hole, right? They have one big hole of a spot, and I'll be curious to see how they handle it overall. I just think first base DH is essentially Hoskins, Manzardo, and I think as much as they can say they want other people to play there, and those guys will have occasional days off, maybe especially against tough lefties for Manzardo, I think those are still players that are going to get the lion's share of those at bats.
Yeah, I mean, you do need to have opportunities to DH DeLauter, and you do need opportunities to get Jose a day of DH too. So I guess it'll depend on the matchup and how it's going to be a lot of mixing and matching. I know people are going to be frustrated at that. Like, they're going to say, well, the lineup's not consistent, this and that. But if you're going to maximize your roster with the way it's built and the way, you put this together, payroll or whatever, the best thing you could do is try to squeeze the most blood from the turnip here, and mixing and matching is the best way for them to put the best product on the field from what they have available to them. All right, so the rotation is set too. Parker Messick makes the cut. We'll discuss the implications of that decision next and how we feel about the state of the rotation heading in to the regular season that's coming up next. Always excited to be talking about our sponsor for today's show, MLB The Show 26. It is our favorite baseball game, and it's back. And just for playing it over the weekend and last week or so, I know if you're a baseball fan, you have a hard time turning this one off. I grew up playing baseball, and I grew up playing MLB The Show with my friends. And look, I even got my wife into it. My wife was playing over the weekend on Nintendo Switch. She threw a perfect game with Tanner Bible. I was at a fantasy draft all day, so even she's into it, having fun. She's playing on easy mode. There's a lot of things you can do if you're a gamer or baseball fan and you want to enjoy America's favorite pastime in a new, exciting way. You're going to love MLB The Show 26. You could play as the Guardians in Tanner Bybee and see if you have what it takes to win the World Series or throw your own perfect game. Visit MLBthe.show/lockdown. Use code LOCKDOWN. Unlock a pack for use in time and Dynasty. Internet connection required. MLB The Show 26 is available now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch, of course. And it's rated E for everyone. Workplace chaos. We know that's not fun, like video games. Deadlines stacking up, inboxes overflowing. That one position you have to fill is still sitting open. The pressure's on. You need the right hire. This is a job for sponsor jobs. Indeed, sponsor jobs. It's going to help you reach the right people who fit what you're looking for in a job opening, skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate is going to stumble across your post. The stat that says it all, the minute we've been talking, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing, more results with candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners to the show, you're going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Guardians. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Don't forget to check out the Everyday Club for ad-free episodes of Locked On Guardians, access to the group chat with Jeff and myself and other listeners of the show, as well as listeners of all the shows, all Locked On Tigers, Locked On White Sox, Locked On Royals, Locked On Twins. They're all out there in the Discord. Tap the link in the show notes to go to LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com to learn more. Also important, too, to discuss over the over the weekend, Jeff. DeLauter had another good game today. Hit the ball hard, got the ball in the air against Graham Ashcraft, a 108-mile-an-hour double, 21 launch angle. So we're seeing him get the ball in the air a little more. So I hope that's a sign of maybe his legs feeling good, because we were kind of worried about that.
Yep.
And then how about Travis Bazan on Saturday? 2 home runs, a grand slam off of Mitch White, and then a home run off of Robbie Ray, a lefty. I'm really curious to see. I know we didn't plan on discussing this today, so we'll see what happens. But I'm really curious to see how the Guardians decide to handle when he comes up, as far as like how much time they want him in the minors, between not wanting him to have enough time to win Rookie of the Year, so they lose a year of service time, but also have him on the roster because he's going to be ready sooner than later. Like, I'm very curious to see how that shakes out.
I mean, we know how they're going to do it. They're going to play the service time game because it's too important not to. So as much as people don't want to hear it or don't want to face it, it comes down to 6 years versus 7 years. And they're going to, and it's also, they so play everything. So, they're going to give this infield a chance to be their infield. They'll see what happens with them, and they'll go from there.
But sure.
I mean, because they took off in the second half with a defense first infield. So they're sticking with, and they have, as they brought up in the show, they have their entire pitching staff, all 5 starters are heavy ground ball pitchers. So there is a logic to it. even if it is, not what people want, but he's got time. There'll be opportunities for him to come up and play. But yeah, it's probably not going to be till mid to late June. It would be my best guess.
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of like, if he comes up too soon, he can win Rookie of the Year, and you miss out on the extra draft pick, and he also gets the full year of service time anyway, or if he finishes in second like Tanner Bybee did. So like there's a lot
Well, then you're kind of, I would think you would assume if that's what's happening, then Chase DeLauter is imploded. Because if DeLauter's got a 2-month head start on him, and
the
rookie of the year, with a 2-month head start, he should win. Just like, they're similar type of hitters in terms of their profile and what they can do. DeLauter might.
How many games is DeLauter going to play though? That's the thing. Like,
but I'm just saying, like it's probably not a good sign if he comes up and wins. There's a lot of players involved, but yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Like I said,
we'll talk about that more this week. We'll do our predictions and stuff, and we'll talk about Rookie of the Year and those odds. Let's get to the rotation real quick. So, 2 weeks ago, you and I talked about how Logan Allen and Parker Messick were pitching on the same day when Allen got back from Panama or from Puerto Rico with Team Panama. And we thought, well, they're just going to let Allen start the year in the majors because he's had more experience and they'll try to, knock off some of Messick's service time. But I don't want to say Friday night I don't think Friday night was like, okay, Logan Allen was so bad. They had to send him to AAA. The Guardians are not making that decision based on one start or any spring training decisions on stats or performance. It's more about getting ready for the season and what they're seeing kind of underneath the hood. I think this is the right call. Like I know you're gonna ignore the service time because now Parker Messick starts the year in the majors, so now he potentially could only be a 6-year guy, and he might even be a Super 2 depending on how things shake out.
He will be.
Yeah, so I give him credit for doing what's best for the roster early on. I'll say that because Logan Allen, performance aside, just did not look comfortable like all spring training long. Like he didn't pitch well for Team Panama. He didn't pitch well when he came back, and then I'm not even going to put a whole lot of stock into Friday night's game because it was a massive heat wave over the weekend. I'm sure nobody was comfortable, and that was just not fun to pitch in. But he just never could land pitches where he wanted to. They took him out of 2 different innings, brought him back twice because of pitch counts. Like it was just ugly. So I think trying to get the thing straightened out in AAA just made the most sense for Logan Allen to see what's next for him. I don't know what's next for him though, honestly. Like if Messick is the 5 and he takes off,
someone's going to get hurt. Doesn't matter. Yeah, someone's going to get hurt.
Somebody will get hurt. It's like that's good to have the depth. Yeah.
What we always say every year is it gets sorted out. Like he's going to be back up, and if anything, it's like it's another example of the dangers of a pitcher going to the World Baseball Classic because he just seemed off, like there and in return, and all of it was. He was, one could look at it and say the World Baseball Classic might have cost him his roster spot. So I wonder, how it affects some of the thinking. I'll also say that it's interesting that they seemed less concerned with letting him go, less of a huge part of the team. Listen, you need the depth. You can never have enough lefties. Logan Allen has been a good organizational soldier. He's a solid 5'6" swing guy. He'll be up. Someone's going to get hurt. It's, no team only uses 5 pitchers. Even that one miracle season where Cleveland used 6, that doesn't happen anymore either. They're going to need 7 or 8 starters throughout this year. Someone is going to miss a lot of time. And as much as you hate to say, it's probably going to be Cantillo because he has never had a healthy season. He's probably your number 1 candidate. So you could look at that, but they're going to need him. So he'll be up before you know it. It does mess with his service time, but it's not service time manipulation. And you do give, it is interesting from that perspective that like if they had waited on Messick, essentially they're losing a whole year of control here. Like by where they called him up and having him start the year with the team, instead of getting that 7th year by having like the partial. So for those who don't know, maybe we have some listeners, it's like teams get 6 full years. If a guy doesn't start the year with your team, then that extra year essentially means you get 7 years of control instead of 6. So they are punting that. They're giving up a whole year of Parker Messick at the end of his contract. And Super 2 status, for those who don't know, means that for a small group who've had so much service time, that they hit arbitration in year 2 instead of year 3. So they start their arbitration clocks even sooner. They get to bigger paydays faster. So he's going to get to bigger paydays faster, and they're going to lose a year of control. So that A, speaks to how much they believe in him, and B, it's definitely something that at points in the past they would have never ever done. So it's interesting to see that too.
Yeah. I'm not going to say like the Super 2 thing will be interesting, but Parker Messick's age, his 7th year would be his age 32 season. I don't know how much I'm concerned about.
Lefties pitch forever.
They
that's
do,
the whole
but
point
I
of
don't
lefty.
know.
His type of lefty is the guy that's like he should be pitching to his mid to late 30s.
Rich Hill. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not like as of today. I'm not really concerned about Parker Messick's age 32 season. I'm happy for it right now. We'll see what happens down the road, and who knows? Maybe he'll get sent back down, and Logan Allen will come back up. These things have a way of working themselves out in strange ways. So we will talk about that, and we will get into the rotation rankings. We'll talk about who we think we have the most confidence in terms of rotations, and we'll get into the bullpen decisions that have shaken out over the weekend on today's Locked On Guardians.
Hey, this is Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds, and I've reached the point in my life where my wife and I are looking toward the future. We've got the house, we've got the career, we even have an awesome dog, but now we need to secure that future. That's where Ethos comes in for us. When I look at this insurance or that insurance and I try to pick one, I might as well be reading an entirely different language. Ethos clears up the noise and gets me set up with exactly what I need, because Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, and it's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/lockedonmlb. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get a free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. That's ethos.com/lockedonmlb, ethos.com/lockedonmlb. Application times and rates may vary.
And we know tournament time is here. It's one of the best times of year. Bracket busters, buzzer beaters, upsets, non-stop action and stress from tip to final cutdown. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long, even if your bracket is busted. Best part is you get $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 straight days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament, and you can mix it up however you want. Game picks, futures, even same-game parlays that are going to give you bigger potential payouts. This is the perfect way to go during the tournament every day because there's something new, different matchups, there's new storylines, more ways to get involved as your bracket breaks up so you're not getting frustrated and throwing away your bracket. Stay involved, have fun, be responsible. Visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the tournament action. Thanks for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. Shout out to all the everydayers, all the insiders who are chatting with us on Discord or texting with us or even commenting on YouTube, because we are here talking Guardians baseball with you every single day on the Locked On Podcast Network. So keep up to date with all things Guardians, whether it's our latest episodes, bonus episodes, reaction to news, games, which we'll do after every game this season as well. Hit the bell on YouTube for all that, and auto download on all of your favorite audio platforms. Take us with you when you're working out, driving to work, whatever you're doing out there. We can go with you and talk Guardians. Shout out to KDF, a former educator and Kent State alum, who said that our podcast is in her daily rotation this season, getting excited for baseball season. So we appreciate that, and let us know where you're listening from, and if we are part of your everyday routine. We appreciate that. Jeff, do you want to do the starting pitching rankings, confidence rankings? You want to hold that off and talk about the bullpen?
Let's hold it off and do the bullpen.
Sure. As you predicted we would do this.
Yes.
All right. So some interesting bullpen decisions over the weekend, I would say.
Yeah,
the bullpen looks pretty much set. Like Smith is there. We know Hunter Gaddis has not pitched in a long time, and he's throwing bullpens, and the word is that he's progressing, and he feels pretty good. They're still considering him day-to-day at this point. Who knows? Tracking well, considered day-to-day. He threw in a minor league game. I'm sorry. So he did throw in a minor league game, which is good. But he's still going to start the season on the IL unless he magically pitches like one of these games in Arizona the next 2 days, and that's all well and good. But it sounds like Smith, Armstrong, Festa, Tim Herron, Eric Sabrowski have both been good in spring training. Connor Brogdon's out of options, so he makes it. He was solid. And then I think the last spot goes to Colin Holderman at this point.
Agreed.
If Gaddis is going to be on the IL, we know Peyton Pallette has made it, and he's more than earned that spot. The interesting bit of news came that Cody Heuer is going to be added to the roster, 29-year-old who will turn 30 later this year. Former 6th-round pick. Like he was a nice pick. He was part of the what trade did he go to the Cubs in? It was
the Kimbrel trade.
Craig Kimbrel, yeah.
Kimbrel
and then
trade.
didn't the
Him
White
and Nick
Sox-
Madrigal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, speaking of former Guardians or Guardians draft picks, the Guardians drafted Madrigal out of high school. So
yeah.
Heuer gets the roster spot that was vacated by Nolan Jones, which we thought was going to go to Rhys Hoskins. The Guardians did say that they're going to roster Hoskins. No surprise, but their roster's full of 40, so they got to make a move there with Cody Heuer making it. I thought Heuer threw the ball well this spring, honestly. The velocity was good. He could probably throw a little more strikes. He's had a hard time throwing strikes, but a lot of whiffs, a lot of chase, a lot of guys that were missing the ball in the zone against him. Like everything looked really good. The fastball velocity was 97. Stuff plus numbers. Really like the fastball and the slider this spring. So I'm excited about him. And it's a guy who has an option this season who can be moved up and down 5 times. I think that's really valuable. Again, for a guy who was pretty well thought of as a pitching prospect at one time, at least in terms of relievers. Also, by the way, another 6'5" reliever. They love these absurdly tall relievers. Like Cade Smith is huge. Tim Herron's huge.
Hunter Gaddis is the biggest.
Yeah, Gaddis is huge. I mean, Colin Holderman's not a small dude either.
No.
So,
I think the big thing here, it's like you go back, he was awesome in 2020 and he was really good after he got traded for Kimbrel. Like at the time, you can't dig up old tweets anymore. It doesn't work since they broke Twitter, but you could dig up tweets where I'm like, I'm not sure that Heuer isn't better than Kimbrel. And then he got hurt. And from 2021 to 2025, he didn't pitch in the big leagues. He missed 22, 23, and 24. Last year was a small sample, but, you can go and you look at the data. We know that they love extension. He's an extension freak. He's a ground ball guy. Everything kind of digs in the ground. It's those off-speed offerings. He's an interesting developmental guy for Cleveland in that regard. Because, again, we know the White Sox, all they do is not develop players. And the Cubs have had up and down success with pitcher development. We've seen both good and bad with them. And he was hurt.
He was just hurt. Like,
he
what
was
are you
hurt.
going to do?
And then he was with the Rangers last year, I believe, as well, in his small sample.
And the Tigers.
Oh, I forgot about that. So he's an interesting guy. I was kind of shocked. They must have had he must have looked good enough, and there must have been good enough data to go out and just figure they have to protect him to give him more depth. I don't have an issue with that at all. But it was a surprise to read that he was added. And then, I think it's just interesting in terms of the pen itself and in the situation where they are, that he gives them another guy. We'll see about Holderman. We'll see about Brogdon. They're going to sit there and keep rebalancing. And I think the other interesting thing is you and I both kind of at points thought, oh, well, Andrew Walters can, be backdated on the 60 man. That'll be, he'll be a relief option for later in the year. But they'll backdate him and that'll open up a spot for Hoskins, and then things will work their way out. Someone's going to get hurt. Like, that's just baseball. Someone's going to get hurt to be able to shift guys around. Someone's going to be terrible to be able to open up a spot. But now they're saying no.
Yeah, it sounds like Walters, man. I mean, they can always reverse course depending on, what they decide to do, but it doesn't sound like Walters will need a 60-day stint. They think he'll be ready to come back before then. Like he's progressing to throwing live bullpens. He probably won't throw into a game, at least a backfield game, probably until April. But it sounds like sometime in April he might be able to come up to Columbus and work his way into game action. So they don't see a need to put him on the 60, which makes things really complicated because there's really no good 40-man spot to add for Rhys Hoskins right now. Like the only guy I could think of,
Rodriguez.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying earlier in the year, like maybe that he survives because he has an option. But now that Nolan Jones is down there,
yeah,
like I don't think Doug Nikhazy's in any danger. I mean, and I don't think they would try to trade Logan Allen. Like he has no value, and you need the depth. So like Franco Alamon's not.
I mean, I think he still has value, but I think more importantly, you need the depth. They don't have a good option when someone inevitably gets hurt. They just don't.
No.
So,
I'm thinking it's Rodriguez. If it's not Rodriguez, like. It's not Alamon because Alamon, I think they want the depth there too. He's still optionable. Like
no, and I think Halpin had a good enough spring with his new swing. And I know people will probably be asking us, "Oh, you didn't talk about Halpin in segment 1." He's got to show that he can take what he's done and extend it. Last year was really bad. He's got to take it, but I think he has done enough to show that he's going to keep a 40-man spot. So yeah, there really is not a an easy choice here outside of Jonathan Rodriguez. Like no one else to me even kind of remotely makes sense, right? Am I missing someone?
No.
Is there a name that I'm just forgetting about off the top of my head who's like the obvious cut outside of him?
No, because I mean, even Valera, like, yeah, Valera is going to start the season on the IL because he hasn't played in 2 weeks, but like he's not going to the 60 year. So if you're saying like what they love Watson, Hanau's not going anywhere, Brito's not going anywhere. I mean, Nikhazy is the only other guy I can think of that would lose a spot for Hoskins, but I would probably move on from Rodriguez more because you've got Jones in AAA for depth now. Not that I love Jones either, but like you don't need 2 of those guys in AAA, right? Because you got Watson, you got Halpin, and you know what else are you going to do?
I mean, listen, Rodriguez has been the MVP of AAA for a lot of years now. It is a hitter-friendly park. He's done a great job. He's actually worked out pretty well for a 3rd-round pick who's had all the ups and downs that he has had. I would wish him well elsewhere. You know, I think it'd be interesting to see who jumps on and claims him. But I think he's the only guy who makes sense if someone else isn't getting there, barring some kind of weird trade, something where it's like, okay, Brito isn't making this team. We don't really see a pathway for him. Maybe they sell low to clear a roster spot and get a fun lotto ticket. Like barring a trade like that, which we can't predict. Like, and they haven't done one of those, I feel like, in a while. Please, listener, tell me the last time they did that. You guys might remember better than I, because I'm drawing a blank right now. I keep going back to like Dave Burba and Sean Casey, and that is definitely not the last time that happened, but that's where my mind goes automatically.
I'm sure there is one. I
just can't think what it is.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the transactions. You're right. That's something I think that really makes sense. Which you know brings me another point we didn't think about either. We didn't plan to talk about this, but you know we always talk about roster fodder and how important that is. There's nobody on the roster where I'm like, okay, you could easily DFA this guy if you need. Like, I suppose Cody Heuer could be that guy.
Heuer and Rodriguez, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, in the case, he's probably the next guy after that. But it's like, this is the first time in a while that okay, you know what? Here's what I didn't think about. Would you put Peterson on the 60-day IL? He is going to be 8 weeks with the bicep issue. But if you do that, remember, he gets major league service time. He can't go on the 60-day IL because it would start his clock and it would give him service time. I don't know if they necessarily care about that, but he would make a major league salary and he'd get service time if he goes on the 60-day IL.
I think that's a good call. I think there's a good chance of that because as much as like Peterson, you know, he's kind of a righty Logan Allen. Like he's more of that like 5th, potentially 6th. You know, maybe he's a 5th starter. Maybe he's more of a quad A type. Like he's kind of on that borderline. I mean, I like him a lot. I think a lot of other teams do as well. We know the Rays have liked him at points through the years. But yeah, maybe. Because again, you can backdate all those 60-day stuff. So there is that. So that's a good call there. That's something I had not thought about. I just don't see.
Give him service time if you do that. That's the only thing.
I mean, I think with a guy like him, you don't care as much, right? Like Messick. Yeah, you know, Messick is a guy where like I brought it up because like he's looked really good. Some people, I mean, the other thing we didn't even talk about with Messick, and we're not that low on time because we had all the ads. But like Messick is a top 100 on MLB. He might be eligible for a PPI pick as well, which would also mean if somehow Messick leveled up, or you know had a fantastic season and finished top 3 at some point for Cy Young, they would also get a PPI. You can only get PPI once, but you can get it for that's why the Astros have 2. They got one for Hunter Brown's top 3 finish. I gotta look and see top 100. I'll look at MLB. It just hit me now, so I apologize for my lack of preparation. I think he is on the top 100 for the MLB because they have just a ton of Guardians on there. I'm almost positive.
I can tell you real quick.
He's 95 on the MLB. I don't know about ESPN or Baseball America. He's got to make 2 of them.
Well, I did do the Guardians.
That's right, you
prospects for all the rankings table for everybody in the insiders group. So I need to see. Of course, I cannot. Here we go. Guardians prospect rankings. No, that's not it either. I did a whole thing.
45. So he's 95 on MLB. He's 45 on ESPN. So he would qualify for a PPI pick.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So by calling him up in the unlikely situation, I mean, I love it. You never know with this team, right? And the way they develop pitchers. And we're big believers in Messick. Like Messick, I don't want anyone to think like I don't think so. Just it's like I mean, the only reason I'm saying, and I don't think so, is because, he's not the sexiest type of pitcher. He's not the big velocity guy. He's just a very effective pitcher. But those guys often aren't top 3 finishes for the Cy Young. But because he is going to start the season with the team, he will qualify for PPI, which means either winning the Rookie of the Year this year or within the first 3 years, I believe, finishing top 30 for the Cy Young would qualify Cleveland for an incentive pick. Same for DeLauter, but instead of Cy Young, it's MVP.
Yeah, he's top 100 everywhere. He's top 100 at BA, Pipeline, with Keith Law, with Kylie McDaniel, with Baseball Prospectus and Fangraphs. So he made it into the 80s. Yeah, ESPN had him at 45. He was the highest out of anybody, like you said. But he made it the top 100 for everybody. So, yeah, he's up there. Bazana's up there. DeLauter's up there. So, yeah. DeLauter, give you both give you chances for that. Yeah. That's going to be fun. That's a good call. I didn't think of that either with Parker Messick.
Should have brought it up earlier. My fault. It hit me, and then I forgot about it.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm going to blame the bit of a head cold I got for keeping me in a bit of a fog. But we still had a fun discussion today, and we didn't even get to our pitcher ranks. So we'll have to handle that tomorrow.
No, we'll talk tomorrow about our starting pitcher confidence rankings. We'll rank the pitchers, the starters on most confidence to least confidence. We'll get into season predictions, and if any news drops from today and tomorrow about the roster, whatever happens in that exhibition game in Arizona, we'll cover all that. We'll be here every day, and I know the insiders are excited. We have a fantasy draft Wednesday night. We'll do a insiders chat while that draft is going on at 8:30 Eastern, and then we got predictions the next day, and we'll get some predictions from the everydayers and the insiders as well. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. You know all the things. Hit that thumbs up. Make sure you've hit the bell.
Tell a friend.
Yep. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.